In Unit 11, Part 3, we were talking about graphing linear inequalities. If you remember, back in Unit 4 or 5, we solved linear inequalities and solved systems equations. Pretty difficult concepts, but we'll go through it, asking you questions that you have. A couple of definitions for you. First, a linear inequality is the result of replacing the equal sign in a linear equation with less than or equal to, greater than, or greater than or equal to. So y equals mx plus b is our linear equation. So linear inequality b like y is greater than mx. The solution of a linear inequality is when you substitute the values of x and y into an inequality, and it produces a true statement. So if you look at the first section that says checking solutions of a linear inequality, tell whether the ordered pair is a solution of 3x plus y is less than 2. So if you look, we're given an ordered pair, and just as a reminder, the first number is x, the second number is y. So we're going to plug those into our inequality and see if it's true. So I'm going to have 3, I replace the x with 1, plus I replace the y with 2 is less than 2. So I have 3 plus 2 is less than 2, 3 plus 2 is 5, 5 is less than 2. Less than 2 is a false statement, so this is not a solution. For the second one, I'm going to plug in -1 for x, and I'll plug in -2 for y. So 3 times -1 is -3, plus -2 is less than 2. -3 plus -2 is -5. So our -5 is less than 2 is a true statement. So I'll let you guys try number 3. The next part we're going to talk about is graphing a linear inequality. So this is kind of the major part of this section, which can be a little bit difficult. So please make sure you pay attention. First thing we need to do is get this into y equals mx plus b form. Except we'll have an inequality instead of equal. So the first thing I need to do is subtract 4x from both sides. So on the left side, I'll wind up with -5 is greater than or equal to. On the right side, remember that we cannot actually do 20 minus 4x. So I'll just write -4x plus 20 over on the right. It's -4x because I subtracted 4x, and then it's plus 20 because there's already positive to start. The next thing I need to do is divide everything by -5. And since we have an inequality, this is going to make things a little bit trickier. So the -5's cancel out, so I'll just have y. Since I divided by a negative, my inequality symbol needs to flip. On the right side, these negatives cancel, and I can just leave 4 over 5 as a fraction, because that's going to be my slope. And then 20 divided by -5 is -4. So my inequality will be y is less or equal to 4/5 x minus 4. So now I need to graph this. My slope is going to be 4/5. My y-intercept is going to be -4. So a refresher on graphing, I go to my y-intercept first, which is -4. So I'm going to go down 4 on the line and put a point. And then from there, I can apply my slope, which is positive 4 over 5, which means I'm going to go up 4 and 5 to the right. And put a point. Then I can go ahead and draw a line through this. So that's all what we've done before. The difference now, though, is that it's less than or equal to. So that less than or equal to tells me 2 things. The first thing it tells me is that it's a solid line, which I've already made. Okay, the line I drew is solid, not dotted. And the second thing is, since it's less than, I need to shade below this line. So what I like to do is go to a couple points on the line and draw down arrows since we're shading below. So that tells me that below is where I need to shade. Now, the reason why we shade is because since it's an inequality, we're not saying that our answers are just on the line. They're everything less than that line as well. So that's why I can shade it to include it. All right, let's look at number 2. So first thing is to get it into y equals mx plus b form. So I need y by itself, so I'm going to subtract 3x from both sides. So those will cancel out. Negative 2y is less than negative 3x plus 2. Then to get y by itself, I need to divide both sides by negative 2. So those cancel, I'll have y. Since I'm dividing by a negative, I flip this inequality. 2 negatives make a positive, so this is 3 over 2x, and then 2 divided by negative 2 is minus 1. So I need to find my slope, which is 3 over 2, and my y-intercept is negative 1. So the graphic, I'm going to go down 1 on the y, so from the origin I'll go down 1 to the point. Then my slope is positive 3 over 2. So I'm going to go up 3 over 2. Up 3 over 2. If I wanted, I could also do the opposite. I could go down 3 and 2 to the left. So before I draw my line, I've got to check a couple things. My inequality is greater than, so that tells me that it's a dotted line. I don't have the equal to sign underneath, so it's going to be dotted instead of solid. And since it's greater, that means I'm going to shade above. So when I draw this line, I need to make sure it's dotted. Okay, I still put the arrows on the end, it's still going on. So what that dotted line tells me is that if I have a point on this line, that's not going to be a true statement. If I have the equal to part, it would include all of them. And then the second thing is that I shade above, so I can go anywhere on this line, draw an up arrow, and that tells me where I need to shade. Last thing we're going to cover in this part are special graphs, which are for we have x equals and y equals graphs. So for the first one, we have x is less than or equal to negative 1. So that means on the x-axis, I'm going to go over to negative 1, which is right here. And remember that when we have an x equals, or in this case, an x is greater than or equal to graph, that means that it's going to be a vertical line. So I have to worry about my greater than or equal to, which tells me two things. It's a solid line because of the equal sign, and I'm going to shade above because it's greater than. So this is going to be a vertical line, and it's going to be solid, and it's an x equals graph. Now if you look, I said shade above, but since it's a vertical line, I can't really shade above. So think of it in terms of your number line. Where are the greater numbers going to be? The greater numbers are all to the right, so I'm going to shade in over here to the right. If you look at number 2, we have a y equals graph now. So it says y is less than 3. So I'm going to go to 3 on the y-axis, which is right here. And then I have my inequality is less than, so again, that tells me a couple things. First thing is that it's dotted, because it doesn't have equal to part. And the second thing, since it's less than, I'm going to shade below. So when we have y equals graphs, you may or may not remember that's a horizontal line. In this case, it's dotted. So I'm going to draw a dotted horizontal line at y equals 3. I still have my arrows on the end. And then it says to shade below. If you think of the vertical number line or an elevator, down to all the lower numbers. Alright, there's review problems down here at the end. Make sure you ask me if you have any questions on those or on any of the graphs.